Wendy, I'm home.
This is Jack Torrance. He has a family, his loving wife Wendy and his young son Danny. The three of them are all alone and completely isolated at the Overlook Hotel during a brutal winter. Jack is about to do something horrible, and we are going to dive deep into that moment. Let's get down to brass tacks. When we think of The Shining, there's one scene that has permanently carved itself into the collective mind of cinema history. Jack Nicholson, wild-eyed and unhinged, lifts an axe above his head and begins hacking through the bathroom door, reducing wood to splinters in a frenzy of rage. On the other side of that fragile barrier is Wendy, played by Shelley Duvall, clutching a knife, trapped, terrified, and desperately searching for escape. This is the Here's Johnny moment.
Here's Johnny!
Arguably one of the most iconic sequences not just in horror, but in film history. But what makes this scene work? Why does it remain so unsettling, even decades later? And how does Stanley Kubrick's meticulous filmmaking transform what could have been a straightforward chase into a masterpiece of terror? That's what we're going to explore in The Crimson Reel. To understand the bathroom scene, we have to look at what Kubrick is building toward. The Shining is not a movie that rushes into violence. Instead, it's a slow boil, simmering with dread. From the opening drive to the Overlook Hotel, Kubrick uses wide, sterile frames and unnervingly symmetrical compositions to trap us in a world that feels both majestic and suffocating. By the time Jack Torrance finally picks up the axe, we've been steeped in paranoia and unease for nearly 2 hours. Wendy has watched her husband slip further into madness. Danny has endured visions of blood-filled elevators, ghostly twins, and violent warnings to get out. The hotel itself seems alive, its hallways and ballrooms echoing with sinister intent. So when Jack finally decides to murder his family, it doesn't feel sudden, it feels inevitable. The axe is not just a weapon, it's the physical manifestation of everything the Overlook has been pushing Jack toward. Why an axe? On a practical level, the axe is brutally effective. It's heavy, destructive, and terrifyingly primitive. Guns are clinical, knives are intimate, but an axe? It's a tool that turns Jack into something more than human, something mythic, almost folkloric, like Paul Bunyan or a medieval executioner. Only here, he's wielding it against his wife and child. The axe also echoes horror traditions. From slasher films to gothic stories, the axe has often symbolized unrestrained violence, raw, unfiltered destruction. It requires not just intent, but strength. Every swing feels like an explosion of Jack's fury, a physical extension of his madness. When we see Nicholson's Jack raising the axe, it's not just a man breaking down a door, it's civilization breaking down into savagery. Of course, the scene wouldn't work without Jack Nicholson himself. His performance is legendary because it blurs the line between acting and possession. When Nicholson wields the axe, his movements are jagged, yet purposeful. He's almost theatrical, grinning one moment, snarling the next. And then comes the improvised line, "Here's Johnny."
Here's Johnny!
That line wasn't in the script, Nicholson pulled it from late-night TV, from Ed McMahon's famous introduction of Johnny Carson, but the randomness of it makes it more terrifying. In that moment, Jack isn't just a character. He's a force of chaos, unpredictable and unstoppable. What really sells it, though, is the contrast with Shelley Duvall. Her Wendy is wide-eyed, frantic, her body practically folding in on itself with fear. Her screams are not polished Hollywood screams. They're raw, strained, exhausting, and that contrast between Jack's manic energy and Wendy's absolute terror creates a psychological clash that makes the scene unforgettable. Kubrick's fingerprints are everywhere in this sequence. He famously shot hundreds of takes throughout the film, pushing his actors to the brink. Shelley Duvall, in particular, was emotionally shredded by the process, and while that raises ethical questions for sure, the result on screen is undeniable. The camera work is simple but devastatingly effective. We watch from over Jack's shoulder as he hacks the door. We see splinters flying. Then Kubrick cuts to Wendy's face, her eyes darting, her breathing rapid. The editing rhythm builds like a drum beat. Cut to the axe swing, cut to the splintering wood, cut to Wendy's horror. Kubrick doesn't need gore here. The violence is suggested through rhythm and sound. Each axe strike is like a gunshot, reverberating through the audience. And then, when Jack peers through the hole he's created, the camera holds steady, forcing us to confront his face in all of its deranged glory. Sound is everything in this scene. The axe hitting the door is sharp, splintering, and almost metallic, despite being wood. It punctuates the silence with brutal finality. Then there's Wendy's voice, high-pitched, cracking, almost painful to hear. She doesn't sound like a composed heroine. She sounds like a woman in genuine terror, which only amplifies our own fear. Overlaying this is the absence of music. Kubrick doesn't lean on a score to tell us how to feel. Instead, he trusts the natural sounds, the strikes, the screams, the creaking wood, to carry the horror. That decision makes the moment feel more real, as though we're in that bathroom with Wendy, counting down the seconds until Jack breaks through. Beyond the immediate terror, the axe scene encapsulates the central themes of The Shining. At its core, this is a film about the breakdown of family. The Torrances arrive at the Overlook as a struggling but intact unit. By the time Jack swings the axe, the illusion of family has shattered. He is no longer a husband or father. He is the predator, and his wife and child are the prey. The bathroom door itself becomes symbolic. It's a thin, fragile boundary between safety and annihilation. Wendy's entire survival depends on a flimsy piece of wood holding back a man possessed by rage. That fragility reflects the thin line between sanity and madness, between protection and violence. The scene also speaks to cycles of abuse. Jack's descent isn't just supernatural, it's personal. We already know that he's hurt Danny before. Now, with the hotel's influence, he's escalating towards something permanent. The axe becomes not just a weapon, but a symbol of generational violence, of fathers destroying families. The "Here's Johnny" line has since become one of the most parodied and quoted moments in movie history. From The Simpsons to Ready Player One, it's been referenced endlessly, and while that has dulled some of its original shock value, it also proves its staying power. The fact that one improvised line could transcend the film itself shows just how deeply this scene tapped into the cultural psyche. It's not just a horror moment, it's a cinematic moment, one that belongs to the pantheon of film history alongside I Am Your Father or we're gonna need a bigger boat. What's often overlooked about this scene is that it's not really about the supernatural. Yes, the hotel has pushed Jack towards madness. Yes, ghosts whisper in the halls, but in the end, what terrifies us isn't the overlook, it's Jack himself. This is the horror of domestic violence, of a loved one turning predator. Wendy isn't trapped in a haunted hotel. She's trapped in a marriage with a man who's become monstrous. The bathroom scene is so effective because it strips away the supernatural trappings and focuses on something very human, the fear of being destroyed by someone who's supposed to love you. After Jack smashes the door and delivers his line, Wendy slashes his hand with a knife. It's a small victory, but it's crucial. It shows Wendy isn't entirely helpless. She's fighting back. This moment also signals a shift in power. Jack is wounded, however slightly. The axe that seemed unstoppable is met with resistance. It's a turning point that leads to his eventual downfall in the hedge maze. In that sense, the bathroom scene isn't just the climax of Jack's madness. It's the climax of Wendy's survival. It's the moment she proves that she can endure, even when the odds are stacked against her. The axe through the door scene in The Shining is iconic for good reason. It's a perfect storm of elements. Nicholson's unhinged performance, Duvall's raw terror, Kubrick's precision, the brutal simplicity of the axe, and the primal fear of being hunted by someone you trust. It's not just about the violence. It's about the psychology, the sound, the symbolism. It's about watching a family unravel in real time with nothing but a thin wooden door standing in the way of annihilation. And that's why, decades later, the scene still resonates. It's not just Jack Torrance coming through the door. It's madness itself, breaking into the safety of home and forcing us to confront the terrifying fragility of the human mind. If you made it this far, I want to hear from you. What do you think makes this scene in The Shining so unforgettable? Was it Nicholson's performance, Duvall's raw terror, Kubrick's direction, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and become part of this fantastic community where you'll never love and talk about movies the same. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and join us for more deep dives into the most chilling moments in horror history. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.